Now going on to the business blunder of the day, you have Rite Aid filing for bankruptcy after a myriad of lawsuits. Now, it looks like in 2022, Rite Aid settled for up to $30 million to resolve lawsuits alleging pharmaceuticals, or the pharmacies rather, had contributed to the overall oversupply of prescription opioids. They mentioned that they reached an agreement with its creditors on a financial restructuring plan to cut its debt and position itself for future growth, so the bankruptcy filing was part of the process. Now, as of last Sunday, Rite Aid had $134 million in cash and an ability to borrow up to $300 million, and they had $520 million in liquidity. Now, they noted that Rite Aid had found itself in a weak financial position, notching roughly $2.8 billion in losses over the past 6 years and $3.3 billion in long-term debt. This is according to global retail analyst Neil Saunders earlier this week, which can't help but see maybe perhaps another parallel between General Motors, where they're making profits, but they have a lot of long-term debt, and, well, I was going to say, perhaps a good example, the U.S. government. Eventually the bills come up for due. The U.S. government hasn't yet. That's going to be a big point of contention, and eventually Americans will have to deal with that fact, and unfortunately it's going to hurt a lot of people who have a little bit of savings in their accounts, and inflation is going to dwindle what buying power it has. Now, it'll be interesting to see what was such a vast empire of Rite Aid will be able to bounce back from this, or how will they emerge from bankruptcies. It's one of those things where we talk about a lot of business blunders on the show. For a lot of companies, they try to come back from bankruptcy, and depending on how it's structured, they just come back for a very short, fleeting amount of time. Perhaps one of the most, I would say, perhaps pertinent examples being Toys R Us, because I have one of the signs behind me, where, again, they went bankrupt. They were bought out by private equity. They survived for a little bit, then they went bankrupt again, and of course now they're trying a third time. But it's not the same company. It's a different company that bought out the intellectual property behind them. So it'll be interesting to see. But in terms of having such a morally depraved position in terms of contributing to the opioid crisis in the United States and going bankrupt, Rite Aid, that has to be the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone again for taking the time to tune in. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of October, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, all the comments are greatly appreciated as well. We try to make the show better and better together. Don't forget to take the time to like the video, because it might help with the algorithm. It seems to change on a daily basis of how the magical wizards at YouTube recommend videos or not. But what helps the channel even more out is if you just take the time, and I do appreciate it, take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.